AP, your interview with Cotty took so long that we're running real short on time, so we've got to fly through our tips. It's a big round coming up, a full slate of games across the 3 men's divisions and EDFL women's as well. Sprouts, you're still struggling in the tips, only the 6 last week and still last of the 8 tipsters in the EDFL record.
Yeah.
AP, you didn't have a great week either, but you're on 45 tips. Sprouts on 42. Our leader is EDFL Match of the Day's own, Michael Peppercelli.
Is that a new leader?
He would be the first
He's the new leader. He's taken over Tara Murray.
He would be the first person to tell you that he's the new leader as well.
It's a tricky round for tips last week, but let's have a look at what we have got this weekend in Strathmore Community Bank Premier Division. It is round 6, the Heritage game between Keilor and Marby. They'll wear the Heritage jumpers in that one. What can we expect? We know Keilor, well, it's an injury crisis at the moment. Marby had the week off and they're flying.
And there is a strong rumour that we might see Robbie Costello this week from Maribyrnong Park.
You confident on that?
Reasonably confident.
I feel like you're relatively close to that situation. You might have some good word on that.
He was available last week to play. And
how would he be going, though? I mean, he's a friend of the show. We could get him on in the next couple of weeks. But being the coach of this side, not being able to even watch the game, I'm sure he's watching the footage that Sportscast is capturing from each game. But he hasn't been able to be at any of these games so far.
It's difficult. He was actually considering playing thirds on the weekend just to get some match fitness, which would have been interesting. So it'd be great to see Robbie playing at Keele this week.
The whole club's flying, though. Reserves are on top of the ladder. 19s, who are the reigning premier, going very well as well. It's an away game against Keilor, though. Anyone tipping Keilor?
I've tipped Keilor in an upset in the
I've tipped Keilor as well.
In the record.
I thought it was one of those, I'm training a little bit on the tips. I thought, who can I...
You're trying to make ground. I've
got to make some ground somewhere, and I thought maybe Keilor is the upset to go with. But looking at the tipsters, it's a 50-50 split.
Yeah, I just had a bit of a hunch that Keilor at home, obviously they've got some injuries.
Keilor at home, hopefully...
Maribyrnong Park have been up for a little while. I just have a hunch that McGawan might work some magic and...
Big Ivan, I hope he gets a game.
And they get up in an upset.
We're still waiting for Big Ivan to make his debut. 12 p.m. Friday when the teams come out. We'll see if he is there, but a lot of injuries for Keilor at the moment. Aberfeldy is taking on this mob, Glenroy, Clifton Park.
Are we allowed to tip Aberfeldy while we're here at Sewell Reserve?
We're probably need to keep it a little bit quiet. If
Clemo's lurking. He might just you'll take our pizzas away.
That should be an interesting game. I think Glenroy can get within 2 or 3 goals, but Abbas will be just too strong in the end.
I think Aberfeldy as well, but I'm really excited to see what Glenroy dish up against probably their biggest challenge yet.
Strathmore takes on Avondale Heights. I reckon this is a coin flip, 50-50 game, Lebanon Reserve.
I think Strathmore at home, but it's a game that Avondale Heights could pinch, and I think if they do pinch it, it's probably relegation confirmed for Dooders.
No, I think Strathmore get the job done. A little bit disappointed in Avondale Heights. Cameron Wood's a big loss for them.
A few good players to come back into the side for Strathmore. Not necessarily this week, but Hamish McIntosh not too far away from coming back. Mitch Purcell, another very good player at this level. He's another one that we could see in teams on Friday. But you're right, Cam Wood is a huge loss for Avondale Heights, and that will take time for them to adjust. We've got Greenvale taking on West Coburg at Section Road. Back-to-back home games for the Jets.
They'll bounce back, and they'll be huge. They'll go huge on the weekend. This will be 10
These are the sorts of games, though. I mean, West Coburg seem to get blown out in these sorts of games. Do we want them to stay with them at least? Is that the least we can ask for?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I mean, that's what Diggers wants.
I mean, be in it at three-quarter time.
Definitely.
I mean, that's what we need West Coburg to do to start rising up the ladder. Finally, Pascoe Vale at home to Essendon Doo to Stars.
Paco.
This is going to be a
big test. I think Rayburn Reserve.
I think Big Matty Watson might get double figures this week.
It was about time they shake the shackles of Rayburn Reserve that have been holding them back.
They're winless there this year.
Matty Watson will go to the top of the table in the goal kicking this week.
Who leads at the moment? Dean Glea?
That'll be Dean Glea. He's won it a couple times. Essendon 4, Division 1, the broadcast game live 2 p.m, 98.9 Northwest FM, mixler.com/EDFL footy. Neither of you two will be there. I'll be with Poz and Peps as well.
Keep reminding us, Chief.
Airport West and Hillside in Essendon 4, Division 1.
Should be a belter. Who goes to the big one for Hillside will be who matches up on Tyson Young and how they go about playing him.
Don't forget, this is the game the two Micallefs could come up against each other. Victor didn't play on the weekend, but James is there now, of course. So the Hutchison medalists, the two brothers of 2016.
There'll be a bit of fire in that one, I reckon.
It's also a rematch of last year's prelim, which went down to the wire.
Would you be surprised if Hillside wins this week?
I've tipped Hillside.
Is that because you're trying to make up ground?
No, I legitimately think Hillside win. They're a team that can turn it on when they need to turn it on. I think a couple of times when we've seen Airport West on Match of the Day, they haven't quite lived up to expectations, and I feel like it's a sneaky one Hillside can get home in.
Airport West for mine.
That's our broadcast game. Looking forward to it at Hanson Reserve. Oak Park is taking on Craigieburn. Oak Park had the week off, still winless.
I think Craigieburn bounced back.
And again, I think they bounced back well. I think there's another 10-goal victory for Craigieburn.
When's Oak Park going to get a win? I mean,
Chicana in
whenever
2
they
weeks'
play
time.
Chicana, maybe?
I'm not saying that they're going to beat Chicana, but it'll be...
Well, they play
I'd expect both teams to be winless.
in round 8 at Overland Reserve.
That's a mouth-watering game, that one. That's a big game,
That's an opportunity. It's one, obviously, East Keilor wouldn't want to lose. And then they play Chicana, you're right.
Yeah, I think that East Keilor Chicana brick...
They go into Chicana without a win.
Pressure's on.
Speaking of Chicana, they're at home to Taylor's Lakes.
I think Taylor's Lakes probably too strong.
Little danger game. Small. They wouldn't want to underestimate Chicana.
You'd like to see Chicana back it up. You know, their performance on the weekend against East Keilor. You know, we've got some doubts over East Keilor, but we think Taylor's Lakes, maybe not quite top 4. There's a little bit of a divide between those top 4 sides and then Taylor's Lakes in 5th. But if Chicana can remain competitive, it's really good signs for them. But on the flip side, Taylor's Lakes, if they want to say, hey, we're a genuine top 4 contender.
Statement week.
We need to put this side away by 10 plus goals.
Taylor's Lakes win, but
if Taylor's Lakes want to be...
Don't underestimate Chicana.
If Taylor's Lakes want to be a finalist, and this is where they build their percentage, but Chicana, maybe there's a home ground factor. It was only their second game at home last week against East Keilor and their first day home game as well. Maybe that's a factor for Chicana. That might work for them later in the year. Jason Cloak did kick 5 on the weekend.
It'll be interesting.
See if Jackson Wright's back or not. Finally, East Keilor and Tullamarine.
Tullamarine too good.
Tullamarine easily.
That was easy. Strathmore Community Bank Division 2. It's Moonee Valley and Roxburgh Park. As I said earlier in the show, only one tipster is tipping Roxy, and that is Tara Murray, who was leading the tipping until Peps took over last week. I know Moonee Valley is a very, very tough game to play because of the fact that the ground's a construction site at the moment, but you two are going with Moonee Valley.
I'm going with Moonee Valley.
Just on a side subject, should there be a clash jumper in this game?
When Roxburgh Park is the away team, so Roxburgh Park's jumper isn't actually as dark as what many people think, because there's a lot of silver.
There's a lot of silver, yeah.
So when you're throwing the white shorts, and I think they wear white socks for when it's an away game against Moonee Valley, it's not much of a big deal. It's more the other way around when it's a Roxburgh Park home game, where it's a bit more tricky.
Should they have a clash jumper? I think they should.
Moonee Valley had one. Moonee Valley had one. It was the reverse of what they currently have, the mainly white jumper with the black stripes on it. Moonee Valley did have that once upon a time.
We're sitting in the office at Glenroy. I just want to point out, is that a clash jumper, the Anzac Day 2015 one?
They're going to wear a reverse jumper at Glenroy in a couple of weeks. I don't know who against, but yeah, the white with the red. So nice some clubs do have clash jumpers.
It's a nice looking clash jumper.
End of the day, it's a good point that you raise, AP.
But yeah, I think
it is a good point that you raise.
I think Moonee Valley and the travel factor might hurt Roxburgh Park.
Yeah, I think Ormond Park, we've sort of seen it's a low scoring ground, and I think Roxburgh Park are probably at their best when it's a free flowing, high scoring.
Are they a low scoring defensive type team, Moonee Valley? Do you think?
I think they can turn it on. Obviously, you know, we talk about Farber that's kicked a lot of goals. I think they can turn it on if they need to. But against these sides like Roxburgh Park, you probably prefer it to be a little bit tough, a little bit gritty, because I don't think that suits Roxy.
Finally, Coburg District's taking on East Sunbury. We flagged this as a key game in Division 2. East Sunbury had the week off this week. They had the bye.
Yeah, look, we probably haven't spoken about East Sunbury for a couple of weeks in reality, and almost forgotten about East Sunbury.
Well, they had the bye, like I said. So
yeah.
They've had a week off.
No, I understand that, but we've almost forgotten about them. You know, they're all the hype early on in the season in Division 2. Look,
they got done against Moonee Valley 2 weeks ago, so that's probably why.
I've picked Coburg Districts, but it should be a crackerjack game.
I've tipped Coburg Districts as well. I think they've got their mojo back, and it's about time they flex their muscle against they did well against Northern Saints last week, and I think East Sunbury being a big contender, they just need to flex a little bit more muscle, Coburg District. It's
round 6 in EDFL Women's. Our friend Julia Montesano doing a fine job covering this competition at the moment.
We missed the Bears and the Saints, did we?
Okay, quickly. Burnside Heights, Northern Saints.
Northern Saints.
Saints.
My bad. Finally, EDFL Women's. Roxburgh Park, Sunbury Lions. That's a Friday night game.
Sunbury Lions for me.
And myself.
They're going okay, the Sunbury Lions at the moment. Both Sunburys are playing Friday night. The Sunbury Kangaroos have a home game against Hillside.
And I'm tipping Sunbury again.
I'm going the Kangaroos.
Yeah, Kangaroos are going very well. They're definitely one of the contenders. Now, speaking of contenders, we have Pascoe Vale taking on Aberfeldy. I broadcast Aberfeldy's first game, and they got done by the Sunbury Kangaroos.
Should be a big game.
Paco just got over the line last week against the Sunbury Kangaroos as well. It's Paco's home game. This one's on Saturday, Rayburn.
Paco to keep rolling on.
How do the Paco women play at Rayburn? Is it similar to the men's senior?
The home ground disadvantage.
I think Pascoe, top of the ladder.
Paco should
They're
win.
in cruise control. They should win.
Another game on Saturday. Your mob, Keilor Park, up against Burnside Heights.
Burnside Heights with the Ernie Stake rolls to get them over the line.
Yeah, Burnside have been killing it.
And then 2 Sunday games. Strathmore taking on Craigieburn. Now, this is probably the closest game of the round. A bit of a coin flip, this one.
Yeah, and a bit of a coin flip considering Craigieburn haven't won a game either. But I think
they got close last week.
I think they get the win.
Strathmore for mine.
They were really competitive last week against Keilor Craigieburn. They went down by, I think it was 2 or 3 points. So, yeah, I think Eagles get the win there.
Just on the demographics of the listeners on the podcast, do we get a lot of females and a lot of players, and can we get one of the players on soon, Chief?
Yeah, well, obviously we take the show on the road. We do some club shows. We're at Glenroy this week. Our next club show, don't know when it is, but
maybe
it'd
Roxy.
be good to get a female
Roxy,
guest.
We're going to Roxy in a couple of weeks. They've got a
get a
women's team.
female guest. That would
Absolutely.
be great.
We know Julia's on this show quite a bit as well. She's the official EDFL women's reporter. Finally, Sunday, West Meadows taking on the Avondale Heights Taylors Lakes combined side. Can we get a new name for that team? Can we go Avondale Lakes or something along those lines, or not?
Yeah,
it's too long. It's too much of a
Taylor's Heights.
Taylor's Heights.
Taylor's Heights. Here we go. West Meadows against Taylor's Heights.
West Meadows.
Westy.
There you go. They're all our tips for the weekends across all 4 competitions in the EDFL.